A very good morning to all of you. Today we have with us Dr. Rakesh C. Gupta, former Dean of AU Adelphi University, and Mr. Vikram Srihari, who is the Director of JCL Logistics Private Limited. We also have presence of Director General RDIS, Professor Retired Colonel Mahendra Singh. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you all to the guest lecture on BRIC, Mint, CIVET, the new global economy.
Sir, before I begin, I would like to take a privilege to tell you about RDIS. Our chairman, Sir Shri K.C. Garg, and his wife, Mrs. Anita Garg, have established a society, namely Shri Pokharmal Educational Society, to serve the community as a whole. And this society operates several institutes under the repute brand Rukmani Devi. We impart knowledge right from kindergarten level, such as Rukmani Devi Bal Vatika, to doctorate level courses such as Rukmani Devi Center of Excellence in Computational Nanotechnology. We also have Rukmani Devi Institute of Advanced Studies, Rukmani Devi Public School, and of course, our new venture, Rukmani Devi Institute of Engineering and Allied Sciences. Sir, it's an honor for us to inform you that National Assessment and Accreditation Council, that is NAC, has accredited its highest ranking, Grade A, to RDIS. The coveted grade was awarded to the institute after an inspection by the peer group of the NAC team, which visited the campus recently.
Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like you to introduce all to our guest speaker of the day, Dr. Rakesh C. Gupta, who is a doctorate in business from City University of New York. He is specialized in teaching in the fields of strategic management, management of technology, and business management. He is also a subject matter expert in action learning, strategic planning, and business ethics. He has also done various researches. To name a few: Allstate Foundation grants to develop financial literacy seminars for small businesses, Citigroup Foundation grant to develop financial literacy coursework for college students. Dr. Gupta also has number of honors and accomplishments in his account. Few of them are Beta, Gamma, Sigma International Business Honor Society, Town of Hempstead Award for Outstanding Contribution as an Indian American. Sir, congratulations for this. We are really honored to have you with us today. Now, I will request Director General RDIS Professor Retired Colonel Mahendra Singh to please felicitate sir.
Please give a huge round of applause.
Can I have a huge round of applause, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, we would also like to thank our Director General, Sir RDIS, retired Colonel Mahendra Singh, for always being a source of inspiration for us. Sir has provided us such a valuable platform where we can have sessions from experts from academia and corporate. Director General himself has imparted knowledge and ethics to us. Sir, we would like to have here to say a few words.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our esteemed guests, as introduced to you, I will again repeat my words that we are getting you the best people to talk to you on various issues related to your studies here at RDIS. Please make best use of it. And last time I had gone away and I found that students had started making too much noise. I don't like it. It is not acceptable. I welcome you, sir. And I'm sure with your knowledge, with your this thing, students will definitely get benefited. And we are very glad to have you here with us, as the students have already said. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir. Without further ado, I would request Dr. Gupta to kindly open the forum.
Good morning. Good morning.
So we have a slide changer.
Yeah.
Would you like to have a calling mic?
No, that's fine. I went to Delhi University in the 60s, and when I went to Okay. So as I started to say, when I went to the US and I started teaching for the first time, I used to tell the class, please excuse my accent. If you have any questions, ask. So after 40 years in the US, maybe I should start the same way. If I have an American accent, please forgive me and ask questions if you don't understand. All right, so we're going to talk about the new global economy, but I'm going to take a very roundabout way to get to the heart of the subject, simply because, and I wish I had the slides up, which we will in a second, and you'll see my point. I am not an economist, so I am going to talk about the new global economy from a business perspective, and so I'm going to take a little bit of time to set up what I mean by a business perspective. And for that, I also needed a demo on YouTube, and so we'll try and bring that up as well. While we're waiting for this to come up, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask me of a general nature before we get into the topic? All my teaching is always interactive, and so I don't like to hear myself speak for too long. So, questions? Anybody wants to know anything about the United States, about New York, about Long Island, which is where Adelphi University is? Happy to answer those questions. Anybody? Shy group. All right, we are back. So this is a quite a famous cartoon. It's Peanuts, and here's Lucy sitting outside the White House talking about giving economic advice for 5 cents, which typically for most economists that's what it's worth. And so I saw that and I said, well, let me change it a little bit and see if you notice the change. The economist is out. And that's what I started to say, that I'm not an economist and therefore don't expect to hear about Keynesian economics or any esoteric economic topics. I'm going to talk about from a business perspective. All right, now you have to give me 1 second while I try and bring up a little exercise that I want to do with you, and let's hope it works. Mouse? Is there a mouse? Who's the technical whiz? Ah, there it is. Thanks. Talk among yourselves while I do this. Now I don't want to do a search because that will spoil the exercise, so I'm going to have to type in the actual destination page, so that will take another second. All right, so here's the exercise. I want you to, you're going to see a group of people dressed in white, dressed in black. They're going to be passing balls around, passing to each other. I want you to concentrate and count the number of times the white team passes the ball. Okay? And then we'll see what happens, how many of you get it right. Focus on the number of times the white team passed the ball. How many of you had 15? And how many of you had 16? And how many of you saw a gorilla pass through these people? Let's repeat and see. Now be honest, how many of you did not see the gorilla? Okay. And why do you think that is? So why do you think that is? Because of the instructions that I gave you to focus. And many of the tasks that we do, we focus. So that's true of economists, that's true of business people, that's true of CEOs. When they are focused, they miss the big picture, they miss a lot of the input and data that comes. And this is actually a very profound finding in psychology, but it has applications everywhere. So that's the point that I want you to keep in mind till the end of my presentation. That there are, when we talk about the global economy, there is so much happening there that you don't necessarily catch all the nuances. And so that's where we're going to begin. All right, so from a business perspective, what do I mean by that? At its basic, what is a business? What characterizes the similarities between Reliance Energy or PNB Bank downstairs or the local dhaba where I had tea this morning, or your vegetable seller? What are the basic elements that make up a business organization? What do you think? Transactions, right? And what is required for transactions? Money, yes. Well, we'll get to those. This is Reliance. This is Punjab National Bank. This is your local dhaba. This is your vegetable seller. Every organization requires inputs. They process them in some way, and then they generate outputs. And then remember that businesses are supposed to be living organisms, and therefore they need to learn so that they can improve, and that's the feedback process. Even though that is a process, we put it outside the box, and that comes from my engineering training, the black box model. Give me examples of inputs that businesses take. So we mentioned some. Money is important, yes. What else? Labor. Time. What else? Technology. People, human resources. Land, physical, buildings, right? What kind of outputs? Goods and services. Revenues, expenses, profits, dividends. How about reputation and image of a company after they've been operating, right? These are all outputs. All right, so let's see if we can categorize them into simple things. So here are my list of inputs and outputs, and we'll get to processes in a second. So money, people, physical resources, information resources, and you can have those four, but you do not have an organization, right? What makes an organization? A common goal, a set of goals, a mission of goals and objectives, and for each input there is an equivalent output, right? Money we talked about. What happens to human resources? You start a new business or you hire a new person, they have to be inculcated into the culture of the organization. And once they become part of the team, if they have leadership potential, they rise to the top. So leaders and teams are outputs, goods and services. But let's say you're a manufacturing company. Besides goods and services, or goods, physical goods, inventories, what else can happen as output? Residue. Right? Pollution. Not all outputs are desirable. You can have undesirable outputs as well. And certainly a lot of information comes out of companies. Annual reports, tax filings, advertising for the consumer, the customer, lots of information. And then you get results. But there's an additional category. Actually, let me ask the question. Is there any resource that does not fit into those five, into the inputs? Can you think of something? Well, if it is, then I can twist it so that it will fit into one of those. So these, in fact, encompass everything that goes into any organization. And similarly with the outputs. So you have equivalent outputs. For every input, there is an output. But you also have behavioral outputs. So I mentioned to you about the reputation of a company, the image of a company, the feelings of employees. You have employee turnover. If the employee turnover is very high, that means that something is not going right in the organization. That's a behavioral output. So lots of behavioral outputs as well. And the problem is that these are all interacting. So all of these input resources interact with each other, are interdependent, and that is also true with the outputs. Each affects the other. So if you're not making money, that means that you are not going to be able to give bonuses to your executives. That means they're going to go look for other jobs. So there's impact on everything together. All right, so let's talk about processes. So for a standard company, a typical company, you start with research and development. You come up with a manufacturing process, whether it's handmade or assembly lines, and then you sell the products and services. So my little joke there is that if it ends in ing, then it's a process. Manufacturing is a process, budgeting is a process, investing is a process. So typically anything that a business does that takes inputs and converts them into outputs, that's a process. But the four important ones for any business to be successful are what we call POD C: planning, organizing, delegating, and controlling. And I separated out controlling simply because that is the feedback function. That's the learning function. It's the feedback when you look at the results to figure out whether you're doing things right. And even if you're doing them right, how can we improve on our performance from last year? All right. So if, going back, you have inputs, you process them, you create outputs, you say, okay, we didn't make as much money as our goal said, let's go back, fix something, change the input, change the process. So if you go through that cycle often enough, you should become a perfect company, right? How many perfect companies do you know? So that means that something is getting in the way of continuous improvement. What might that be? What's going to get in the way of a company not meeting its goals, let's say? The dynamic environment. Exactly. There are more things that you do not control as a manager than you do control. So you may have some control over your plant, you may have some control over your human resources, but there are many factors in the environment that you do not control. So that's your environment. And we're going to try and list some of those environmental factors, so I want you to think about it. Another way of looking at that black box, or rather the blue box, is who is in that framework for that business organization. I don't know if you can read that, but it says owners at the top, managers and employees in the company, customers at the bottom, and suppliers on the side. Right? And this is like a little four-stroke engine going up and down. There are flows from the owners, their wishes, their desires, what they want the company to do. And then the managers are supposed to carry those tasks out, and the employees basically go on the assembly line and turn the machines and turn out widgets. Suppliers are going to provide you the resources, but you have to pay for them. And the customers, if they like your products and services, they're going to provide you with revenues, right? So in each of those linkages, what is the one element that is common to all organizations? What is it that greases smooth flow of interaction between those four entities? Money. Right? So there's money flows. What kind of money flows from the company, the middle box, to the owners? Dividends, profits. If it's a public company, appreciation in the stock price. How about the customers? They are providing the revenues. Suppliers, what's the money flow there? Physical goods maybe, but money is, you have to pay for it, right? So expenses are coming from the suppliers. All right, so we know that the interaction of these four entities is affected by the environment, and many times the environment can overwhelm the abilities of an organization. What factors are out there in the environment? Political, social, economic. All right, so you've seen my next slide. So the problem is that, yes, I put economic at the top because it has to do with money, it has to do with my topic today, but all of these are there at every point in time of a company's existence. And the bottom line, they're interacting and interrelated. Politics affects the economy. The demographic conditions can affect the social behavior of society, the technological aspects, all interacting. What are SIGs? Special interest groups. Special interest groups. So in the past 50 years, let's say, companies got big, governments got big. And for the little person to be able to have an impact on companies or on government meant that they had to get organized. Because as an individual, it's very difficult to bring about the kind of change, let's say, that Mahatma Gandhi as an individual was able to do. But he organized, right? Satyagraha was an organization. What kind of special interest groups are there that can have an impact on business? Give me examples of special interest groups. NGOs, yes, they are organizations in their own right, but some of them have become big and they can have a huge impact. Who's the